everyone, happy 2020. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately, and yeah, I know I don't post a lot, and I was gonna post kind of a day in my life type thing. Um, that did not work out because I can't remember to do anything when I have to wake up an hour before my shift and then leave within the next 15-20 minutes. Or getting off and I'm really tired. So instead, I was watching this video where, of course, it's a BuzzFeed video where they're talking about what they were like 10 years ago. And it got me thinking, what was Casper doing 10 years ago? What was Casper like? And Casper was significantly different than Casper is right now. So in 2010, I was in 8th grade. I had just started going to a private all-girls school. I didn't go by Casper. I actually went by my birth name. And it wouldn't be until a couple years later that I started going by my first nickname, which was Ella. But in 2010, I had just actually figured out that I was gay, but I wasn't out to anyone. I didn't tell anyone about it, not until 2011 or 2012 did I actually say anything like, I don't think I'm straight. But I was still trying to figure myself out in a way that I knew that I wasn't straight. I knew it, and I understood that I liked guys, but I also liked girls, and that was weird for me because I come from a family that's Christian. My dad, however, was raised Catholic. So I was kind of raised up in this family of, I didn't know much about gay people or the LGBT community, much less how big it was. I knew nothing about it. And so I thought, in the religious sense, that how I was feeling was wrong. And so I wouldn't say a word to anyone. And granted, I've been feeling this way for about 3 years. For about 3 years, since about 5th grade, I knew that I was not straight. But I didn't know the word for it. I didn't know what gay was. I didn't know what LGBT was. I didn't know what pan was. I didn't know what bi was. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know what cisgender was. I didn't know what queer meant. I didn't know what agender, non-binary, transgender. I didn't know any of that. I was a very young, very naive, very sheltered girl at that point. I of course identified as the gender, the sex, not the gender, the sex that I was born as, female. So, and I had long hair that went, I think at that point it was just at my shoulders. It hadn't quite reached past my shoulders yet. Yeah. So I just started, that year, it was the 2010-2011 year, I had just started private school. I'd gone from public school to a private school. I was still keeping up with friends from my public school, even though my schedule was completely different than theirs. So I was just trying to figure things out. I had met who I would later know as my best friend forever, Carl's. So, 2010 me was a really different person, and in the past 10 years, I went from thinking I was bi to freshman year I thought I was bi. Um, Junior year, I decided that I was going to be Wiccan. Um, Senior year, I realized that I was pansexual, um, but not quite female at the same time. I just didn't know what the rest of that was. I graduated high school. For that, I got into my dream college. I graduated high school. I started my freshman year in 2015. I dyed my hair for the first time, and I dyed it red. So I had long red hair that went down like to about here or so, a little bit longer. And then I dated my first girl. I had my first girlfriend. We dated from end of March until about September. She was abroad and we broke up. I had a really crappy sophomore year. That is the only way to put it. I had a really crappy sophomore year where a lot of bad things happened to me, and eventually I would love to do a video about everything that happened that year, because that is a video for another time, not right now. I dated my first boyfriend, kind of in that crappy area. Broke up with him not much later. Lost a lot of friends that same year. Sophomore year, I also declared my major as film. I went through my junior year figuring things out and getting things done. My senior year, I did my thesis, and I graduated with a BA in film. And that was in May. And I spent this past summer, I spent getting my mental health together because I was also diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder, along with my already other diagnosis of clinical depression, social anxiety disorder, ADD, insomnia, clinical bipolar, insomnia, possible dissociative disorder, otherwise known as DID. And then in October, I applied for jobs. Wasn't getting much, and then in November, I got a job at Books A Million. And that is where I'm currently working, and I love it there. It's the best thing I could do right now. And then have met some really amazing people through work, through online. Over the past 10 years, I've got to meet some really amazing people. I've gone to cons. I didn't mention this, but in 2013, I went to my first anime con. 2012, I started cosplaying. In 2017, was the last year I went to Otakon. I started going, I guess a year before, I started going to Star City for about 2 years. And then, last year, 2018, I started going to Steel City, Comic-Con. This past year, I went there, and hopefully this year I will go at some point too, with my friends again. I got to meet some really amazing people in person that I've known through online. I've gotten to know some really amazing people all across the world through Hetalia. They are still lifelong friends, and I will always still keep them with me as much as I can, as long as I can. I still cosplay. I might not cosplay as much as I'd like to. I've just been really busy, and I don't have a lot of energy after work currently. But I I've really met a lot. I've met a lot of good people through my work, and I absolutely adore what I do currently right now. I'll eventually get back to film, but I mean, right now it's a little bit harder because of what's going on. Especially with what I hear that's been going on YouTube. Probably another reason I haven't been posting much. So a lot of my content is not kid friendly. So, there's that. I don't know, I guess that's like the biggest 10-year update that I can do in like 10 or so minutes. I don't know what the future holds for me. I really don't. I'm kind of just taking it one day at a time because that's how I have to do it. Because each day it's a little bit harder for me, and some days it's not as bad. That being said, within that, I guess, crappy year, I think one thing I can talk about right now is that I've been really good about this. I've been trying to very much stop myself, but also see how long I can go, and that is, you won't be able to see it probably, except maybe like that mark right there. But if you know what that mark means, then you probably already know what I'm about to say, is that that sophomore year I did start self-harm on Christmas Eve of all times, and I hit it very well. Since then, so that was 2016. Yeah, that was December 2016 is when I started. It is now 2020, so I've been doing this about 4 years now. Almost 4 years, about 3 years actually. I've been off and on. I've gotten a lot better with it. The months in between each one starts to get bigger each time. So I think the longest so far has been 4 months, and we're trying to go for 5 months at this point. However, it had to be reset about a month and a half ago, or about a month ago. So I do have to wait to see if I can pass my 4-month time. I am doing very well, so obviously you can tell because there is not much you can see on this arm. It's only ever on this arm, so if you ever see me in videos and you see scars that are more prominent, that means that it's very recent. And it's only ever going to be on this arm. It's never going to be on this one, because I am right-handed. It's mainly because I'm right-handed, really. But I don't wish to encourage anyone to do that. I have my reasons for it, and I know it's bad, and I've been told that multiple times by people that it is a bad habit, and I have been trying to break it. It is just very hard because of my mental state. And that's another reason I haven't been posting very much, is because my mental state has been a little bit everywhere, because in May I did have a manic episode, and it got to the point that it was alarming to everyone around me, and I had to call the National Prevention Suicide Hotline. That's how bad it got for me, because I was at that point, and that wasn't the first time that I'd been at that point, but it had been going on for 4 or 5 days, which is a typical manic episode time slot, time area. So that was the deciding factor in what was going on at the time. My doctor decided and figured out that I was actually I had just gone through a bipolar 2 disorder manic episode. It's very different from bipolar 1. Bipolar 2 is more depression, anxiety, that type stuff. And they're usually just limited to episodes about 4 to 7 days long. I'm on medication for it, so it keeps me in check. And with everything going on in my life now, we are trying to actually take me off of my antidepressant because I'm not relying on it as much, and my depression has been a lot better. But also because my mood stabilizer is bound to also even that out. So with time, hopefully I can get off of it. I know that medication is not for everyone, but it works for me, and that's what matters most to me. So I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes. I'm doing actually really well, which is amazing. So yeah, I think that's all I have really to say right now. I can't promise any future videos because I don't know if I'll be able to, or if I'll remember to do any, or maybe I'll do another rant video or something like that. I don't know. We'll get there eventually, though. So, for now, that's what's happened in the past 10 years in less than 20 minutes. And I hope to see comments from you guys, see likes, follow, subscribe. I've been on TikTok too much. You know what? I'll put my social media down here that I'm on most often, and that other social media I happen to have. And you guys can follow me there. So.